So all your coochies. And I saw them on sale promoting the 14th session. It was still long. Just started. My baby's 21 in September. So I've been there. Hey, it's all good. That's awesome. That's exciting. I have a grandson. Yeah, he'll be 2 in December. Right. Why did he come? Cairo? Yeah, it is awesome. He's a handful.
There's some sugar in here. Happiest. There's like extra happiness.
There's a certain joy that comes along.
Great. Yes, Tony Gomez.
Well, good evening. Welcome, everyone. For those of you that don't know, my name is Tony Gomez. And we want to thank you all for taking the time to be here with us. Whether you are a friend coming to support, or a client coming to review the ideas we have shared, or looking to help us with the growth of our company. Tonight, once again, thank you for being here. Tonight, you're going to hear from 3 speakers. First, Robin Sears. She's going to talk to you about a problem that is happening right now, another problem we see people facing every day. Then, Wade Skowski is going to talk to us about a solution that we put together. Not only do we feel it is needed, but vital right now. And finally, Brett Sears is going to put problem and solution together and talk to you about the opportunities we have in front of us. So please, help me welcome Robin Sears.
Thanks. I always screw this up. I mean, you think I'm a technology lawyer. You think that by now I can figure this thing out. No. I deal with the clients who know how to run these things. I don't know how to run this. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Ta-da. Did you want to see it? So hello and welcome again. Thank you, Tony. That was a great introduction. Very excited that you guys are all here tonight. See some familiar faces, but excited to see some new folks who don't know me. As Tony says, I'm Robin Sears, and my day job is a lawyer for startup companies and venture capitalists. And my dream job is to stand here before all of you. And everyone in my life knows that I'm a lawyer. My mom, my sister, my cousin, my grandparents, my best friends. And if they come across someone with a company, they know to say, hey, you gotta talk to my friend Robin. Well, you've been invited here tonight to provide support to the people in this room who are really committed to solving the problem that I'm about to talk about. And you can't really support something that you don't understand. True? So that's why you're here tonight, so that you can really hear what the problem that we really believe is one of the greatest problems facing our communities today, and what that real potential solution is. So a group of us in the room took a look at the world and came up with a couple observations that won't be too surprising to you. There are wealthy people in this world. Shock and awe? No? No, okay. And it's not a bad thing to be wealthy, right? I want to be wealthy. Everyone's up for being part of the wealthy group. Well, wealthy people have access to certain things that others of us don't. They have access to education. Education in wealthy families is institutionalized. And it's not just because they're wealthy. It's because for generations after generations, folks have gone to college. And if 6 generations do something, it's more likely that the 7th generation is going to go do it, right? If there are 6 generations of cops in a family, it's more likely that that 7th generation are going to be cops. Same thing with going to university. If 6 generations of folks went to Harvard, it's more likely that that 7th generation is going to go to Harvard. And not because there's any secret that wealthy folks have, but it's simply exposure. When we talk about access in this context, it's about exposure. Exposure to ownership. Anyone at the top owns something, even if they own a trust fund at the end of the day. Because that's the only way that you actually can experience true wealth, is through ownership. There's financial freedom, which we talked about, and financial guidance. I actually just read an article that said that it said, how much money do you have in order to have a financial planner? And it said that the minimum amount that you had to have was $250,000. So how many of us have just $250,000 lying around? No, not many of us. No one's raising their hand, huh? And yet, how can we ever get to the goals that we want to reach? How can we be prepared for retirement if we don't have a plan? So folks at the top have access to this financial guidance. And it's not surprising, right? These financial planners work on a commission. And if you have the choice of getting 1% or 3% of $1 million, or 1% or 3% of $1,000, who are you going to talk to? I'm going to talk to the person with $1 million, right? We don't blame these folks. They're a group of folks who looked at the people at the top and said, I'm going to wake up every day and figure out how to help those folks to make money off of it. And so they've got access to these tools and resources. And there's a group of people that we call the not so wealthy. And thankfully, we live in a country where we have decided as a society that it's important to help the group of people down here. And so what do? We provide them with free preschool, college grants, financial support, and tons of nonprofits that are there to create opportunities. And there's a group of people who wake up every morning and say, I want to make a difference here. How can I have an impact here? And then there's this big empty space that I call everyone else. And we call Main Street families. So what's a Main Street family? A Main Street family is anyone who's living paycheck to paycheck, who typically make somewhere between $40,000, even upwards of $250,000 a year if you're a family of 4 living in Stevenson Ranch. Because as Brett says, the family of 4 living in Stevenson Ranch has a big house with a mortgage, has a Lexus on a lease, and they're just a better shade of broke than the person who's paying for the Honda. So what happens in the middle? We don't want our kids to go to preschool. I just had twins. Do you have any idea how much preschool costs? This is a lot of money. See, the faces are like, oh my God, ×2. Thank God for twin discounts, right? But it doesn't make that big of a difference. And we got to pay for it ourselves. We want our children to go to college. Look, I've met a lot of kids who don't want to go to college, but I've never met a parent who doesn't want their child to have the opportunity to go to college. We were in a home talking to a family, and I've told this story because it breaks my heart every time I think about it. And the son had gotten into UCLA, and he couldn't go. He couldn't go because the family made too much money to qualify for the grants, and not enough money to pay for the tuition. That's a crime. The opportunity is what's key. There are a number of us in this room who would love to own a business. But not a lot of us in this room have $500,000 to start with. It takes $500,000 to start a franchise. And it takes at least 5 years before you see your first dollar of profit. I don't know about you, but there aren't a lot of people in this country who can wait 5 years to eat. That would be difficult, right? And then finally, financial advice. And real help from financial advisors. So what we saw is that everyone at the top has access to these tools and resources and a group of people dedicated to serving them every day to make money. There's a group of folks at the bottom who have access to tools and resources and a group of people dedicated every day to making an impact in their lives. And what happens here is we have to do it ourselves. 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 And that's what we call our access gap. Because everyone in the middle doesn't have access to the tools and the resources that are necessary to support ourselves and to support our families. That's a problem. That's a problem that affects my family. That's a problem that affects our communities. That's a problem that affects our entire nation. And it's a problem that isn't changing. So why isn't it changing? Well, who of us thinks that the banks are here to get us rich? No, no hands? No. How about the lenders? They're here to get us out of debt? No, not so much. Insurance companies to support us? Corporate America wants us to make lots of money? No. So the very institutions that are created to support us, that we're supposed to rely on, none of us trust. And for good reason. These folks are not trustworthy. They've proven time and time again. And yet we all want to get rich. We all want to get out of debt. We all want to be able to have opportunity. So we're sitting here tonight because someone in this room said, enough is enough. I recognize that this is a problem and I'm going to make a difference. Because we sat around and said, this is going on. It's only getting worse. No one's doing anything about it. There's no march on Washington about the lack of access. We hear about it, little trickles of it. But no one's standing around talking about it. And the reason is because at the basis of it all is the F word. I have 11 and 13-year-olds. That's the craziest thing to say, the F word. In this case, the F word is finances. None of us want to talk about it. Did you ever notice that someone who has money wants to talk about money all the time? But someone who doesn't have any doesn't want to talk about it at all. Right? And those are the people who need to be talking about it. So I really believe that we're not mad about it because we don't want to face it. We don't want to talk about it. And the only way we're going to create change is if we start talking about it. You're invited here today to hear the conversation, to start the conversation, so that we can provide support to start to make a difference. Now, the other people who talk about it are the people who really face the hardship. When our uncle loses his job. When our mom turns 72 and can't retire. When we realize that we want to retire and we're not going to be prepared for it. When our friend's mom is in a car accident unexpectedly at 32 and the family doesn't have enough money to continue going forward where they were. That's when we start talking about it. And so we said, what are we going to do to get people to talk about it now? Because it's not a matter of if the problem's going to show up, it's a matter of when. At some point, can we agree that we're all going to need to stop working? Some point. I mean, I'm going to work and then drop dead and die, but that, that's me, right? At some point, we're going to stop working. At some point, can we all agree we're going to die? I don't know what happens after, but we're all going to die at some point. So these things are inevitable. They're coming. And we have an opportunity to prepare for them. So there's a real problem. And the real problem is that we don't have access to the tools and resources to support ourselves and to support our families and to support our communities. So it's been wonderful talking to you tonight. I wish you all the best. Oh no, that would be awful, wouldn't it? If that's where we ended, but no, that's not where we end. The good news is, there we go, Wade Skolsky. The good news is that while the problem is real, we also have a viable solution. And so I'm going to invite the great Wade Skolsky to come up and to share that.
I don't know, the word great might be an overstatement, so I don't know, it's too high of a bar, but my name is Wade Skolsky, I'm the district leader here at the company, and my job basically is to talk to you a little bit about a solution to the problem that Robin just spoke about, okay? Because look, can we all agree that there's an issue with regards to the access to the education and to the tools for people in what we call Main Street families in the middle? And so what we're going to talk about is, the first thing is, well, okay, if there's a problem, what information or tools do we want to give to the people in the middle? So where do we start? Well, we want to start with the people that are doing well, right? It's true that the wealthy think about money and they treat it differently than the rest of us. That's why they keep it and they grow it. And we've broken this down into 4 principles. The first thing that the wealthy do is they learn to lock in advances for their family. They do this in 2 ways. 1, they teach their kids the things that work. And 2, they have tools with the financial institutions as well as legal tools like trusts and everything like that to be able to lock it in so that they know that their kids are going to do as well or better than they did. Something happens to them, if they get struck by lightning, bored by javelina, run over by a bus, their kids are going to be okay. The second thing they do is they develop habits. I grew up on a farm. And one of the things, the habits that we developed that we thought a little bit differently about was you work really, really, really hard during the week, you relax on the weekend. You work really, really hard on the week, you relax on the weekend. And what you do is you sustain yourself that way, but for some reason we would never seem to be able to get ahead. Well, the healthy realize this too, but what the wealthy realize is that you want to develop habits, right? Because you don't have to be working so hard all the time. And one of the tools to do that is little small habits over time can have giant effects. They do this with their money, they do this with their health, they do this with many, many different things, and it's a skill that can be learned and it's a skill that can be taught. They also leverage experts. The wealthy have no problem admitting that they don't know something and getting people to help them because they don't want to spend the time to learn how to do something. Robin gave a really good example when she talked about technology. Brett handed her the clicker, right? She's like, well, I'm a technology lawyer, but I don't know how to use this, right? But she knows who to call to help to either tell her how to do this or what to do for it because she knows how to leverage those experts. What we always try to do is we always try to figure it out ourselves. I always joke around with my brother. He has very complicated taxes because he has a couple different properties and all these things that he does. I get confused when he tries to describe it to me, and he does TurboTax and doesn't use an accountant, which I don't understand, right? The key is maybe he's not in a situation to use an accountant right now. Maybe he doesn't have money to do that, but at least he should know that at some point he may want to try to do that because he's not an accountant himself. The wealthy don't have any problem leveraging experts. Robin's a lawyer. She's an expert. So if some wealthy person or company has an idea that they want to go through with a small startup, they call Robin. They don't try to figure it out themselves. And the other thing they do is they cultivate strategic partnerships. Who here knows who Oprah is? God, you guys are so, thank you. At least we got a little bit. I know you all know who Oprah is. Come on. But you guys are a little tight, like kind of like a little tense tonight. Is it the heat? Is it the heat? Anyways, you all know who Oprah is. Give me a break. Come on, guys. Oprah says that the one reason why she has $1 billion or however much she's worth is because of 6 people that she's met in her life, right? That you can boil all of the relationships that she knows down her Rolodex, that there were 6 people that changed her life. The wealthy understand that. So they cultivate strategic partnerships with other people. We don't know who in our life is going to change it, but we don't need that many. We may need to get a lot of people, but only a few of them as it takes to fight for you to help cultivate that strategic partnership and change your life. So the first partnership then, power partnership for that Main Street families is like, look, Oprah will not take my call, all right? I'm kind of funny sometimes, I'm kind of fun to be around, but Oprah does not take my call. She does not sit and think to herself, what's Waitzkowski doing today, right? But a company that will take my call is Primerica. They're designed to help families in the middle, all right? They've been in business since 1977. They have $3 billion in market capitalization. This isn't something that we just decided that we were going to do ourselves and that the 4 of us were like, okay, we're going to create a company. We decided to leverage experts and to have a strategic partnership with a giant company that's been in business. It's on the New York Stock Exchange and it has billions of dollars in cash. I like to call them my rich uncles, who's with guys who know guys, basically. And basically they have a track record. They only help the middle. They've said, Primerica has basically said, look, there are plenty of people helping the wealthy. There are plenty of people that are helping the not so wealthy. Nobody's helping the middle. That's a pretty good market for us to help, right? If you're going to start a business, why don't we select people that are not being served for business? Now, what we want to do then is that we want to take these 4 principles and bring them to the middle, okay? Bring them to the Main Street families. Well, how do we do that? Well, the first thing is, how do we lock in advances for a family, all right? I don't have a trust fund. When I was a kid growing up, if something would have happened to my father, my dad didn't go to college. He didn't go to Harvard. He didn't have the human capital to give to me. He didn't have anything. If he would have got struck by lightning, we would have been in trouble. I was cursed right there. But what you can do is we can teach people about level term insurance. It's very simple. You just borrow a bag of money. If something happens to you, your family's taken care of. It's inexpensive and it's available to almost everyone. So we start to teach this as a way to be able, all right, first things first, let's stop the bleeding. Let's make sure that if your family's covered, no matter what happens. So once we got that covered, we want to start to develop the habits. Look, there's a Zen saying, I'm about to get philosophical on you guys, right? It's an Eastern philosophy. And the saying is, from one thing, 10,000 things. Everybody in here has mastered something, all right? For me, it's basically I used to master the Xbox. I don't do it anymore, but that's what I used to be really, really good at, right? Well, the Zen saying of from one thing, 10,000 things basically says this. If you learn how to master something, you can use the tools that you use to master that to master anything. So what we do is let's start developing money habits and start contributing to mutual funds every single month so that we can have a foundation to where when we master that every single month, we're like, great, what's next on our money decision tree? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we want to do next? We're starting to save for retirement. Let's start tackling this debt. And we just use the same skills the same habits that we develop and we learn, and it's a step-by-step process. The third thing that we talked about is the leveraging expert parts. Well, this is where the managed accounts comes in, and frankly, this is where Primerica comes in as well. Primerica has experts in all of these things in terms of the managed accounts, the mutual funds, the insurance, all of that. They have tons and tons of experts. I don't have to know anything. I just have to know who to call, all right? All the managed accounts is once we get enough money in a mutual fund, we start to go into managed accounts where people look at our money every single day, right? We start to be okay with putting other people in control of things that maybe we don't have to be good at everything. Sometimes we feel we have to be so good at everything and we're constantly spinning the plates. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I gotta make my car payment, I gotta spin the plate, I gotta pay the rent, I gotta spin my plate, I got this other stuff going on. And all we seem like we're doing is moving around all the time, right? And it's frustrating, and we feel like we're doing it by ourselves. What I'm here to tell you is that you can develop the habit, and one thing we're trying to do here as a team is to be able to leverage experts and start to offload some of that stuff so you can focus on changing your life. The other issue too is that this whole thing about cultivating strategic partnerships. Now, Primerica is a strategic partner, but also everyone in this room is a strategic partner. All a strategic partner is, it's a complicated way to say, you and I are going in the same direction, and you and I can accomplish more together than we can apart. That's it. You just have to get people to understand that, and once they understand, they're like, yeah, I can get behind that. You've got a strategic partner. Now, sometimes the mechanics of it, because everyone's trying to accomplish different things, takes some time to work out those wrinkles and iron things out, but it's a very simple process, and it's very powerful over time. So what we do is we teach people about Primerica and also our advocates, the people in this room. And Wade can't now use the clicker. So this plan here that I just showed you is a 2 to 3 generational plan. What that means is if you started today, I don't care how old you are, okay, or how young you are, it doesn't matter. If you started today and you pass this knowledge on to your kids and you kept getting better and better, 2 to 3 generations from now, that generation will be independently wealthy. They'll be able to do whatever they want with whomever they want in the style and fashion that they want to, all right? Now, that's incredible because, like, look, guys, it's not a small thing. I grew up on a farm. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm the first in my family to go to graduate school. And my parents taught me exactly 0 about money. So until I was about in my late 30s, I was doing everything incorrectly. But now, because of what I've learned here and what I can do to teach my kids, to make sure that they pound it into them and teach their kids, my family tree can be changed forever by a very simple plan. Everyone always wants to make things seem so complicated so they can sell it. Basically, you see things on TV like, oh, we've got this master plan of flipping real estate, or oh, we've got this master plan of doing this or doing that, but you have to pay us to be able for us to teach it to you. And then you pay it, and then it shows up, and it's so complicated, and like one person has ever done it, and nobody can do it. Why? Because they don't care about strategic partnerships. They don't care about leveraging experts. They care about parting you with your money. This plan is very simple. It can be taught, and it's free. That's exciting. And I get excited about that because if we tell enough people and we get enough people interested in it, then we can change family trees. And what's more exciting than that? Right?
Right.
God, you guys are so tight today. Anyways, it's all right. So I get excited about this plan, but I know that Brett's going to come up, and Brett's one of those guys that he's one of those, for me, Brett and Robin are one of those couples in relationships like Oprah. You know, they're one of, I already got 2 down, so I need 4 more, right? And the reason is because Brett's going to talk about a plan that is a 1-generation plan, because some of us like to actually maybe experience wealth in our life now instead of having to see our great-grandkids do it, okay? So the awesome Brett Sears.
I know how to use it, but I can drop it. How y'all doing? Good. Man, I am excited. All the speakers, Tony, Wade, Robin, like I'm sitting in the back and I'm just excited. Like I'm excited. Like, you have to be able to recognize kind of moments in time. And look, I was talking with someone. I was in Atlanta last week, and I got into a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he's like, man, you go to an event like this, and everyone's excited. He goes, man, it's easy to be excited when everything's good. And how many of you know those folks that whenever things are going great, like they are over the moon? But when the world's kind of not going so well, they disappear and you can't find them, right? The reality is sometimes it's exciting to be excited. Like, it's fun to be excited when it doesn't make sense to be excited. When we're sitting there, I'm like, man, and that's just how I'm just fired up. So tonight, what I'm going to talk about is kind of bring everything together. You've seen, and the basis of everything that we're going to talk about is, right, that there's a problem. right? But it's not let's not focus on the problem, right? It's so easy in today's world to highlight the dilemma, to be able to make it the catastrophe that's going on, right? To focus on trivial or things that don't affect us because we feel like we've got some control. Well, the reality, guys, is that what Wade went over, what Robin went over today, right, what Tony introduced is literally an opportunity to change your life. And that's hard to kind of conceive sometimes on a Wednesday night in July in a room where there's 20 people in the room and a bunch of, it's easy to go, really? Is this really that important? If it was that more important, wouldn't there be 1 million people, 10 million people already doing it? Right? How many of us have ever had that mentality? You walk in, have you ever gone into a restaurant and there's no one there? And you're like, do I really want to eat here? Ever had that experience? And then you sit down and you eat it, it's amazing. You're like, what happened? And then like 20 minutes later, here come all the people you just were a little bit ahead. Well, see, the reality is what we're going to talk about today is being an early adopter, about the opportunity to be in front. And there's not a better early adopter in the world than me, right? It's one of those things, right? We always laugh. Google just came out with a phone service and a new phone. I like signed up the first day. Wade got the invitation for me, but I bought the phone. And I was like, how's it working? I go, it sucks, but it's going to be great, right? You guys aren't excited about this. There's something about me that loves this, like being this pioneer, this opportunity to be out and go, man, is it going to work? Is it not? Is it going to happen? Where does it go? Right? Where do we recognize it? Well, see, today I'm going to talk about something, the opportunity that's in front of us and really what's going on. Now, if we're going to talk about this one generation plan, why? Well, because 3 generations is awesome. How many of you have or had grandparents? Okay, everyone in the room, this is good. How many of you kind of wish that your grandparents had followed the advice of what you saw before, had saved and invested for 30 or 40 years, taught it to your parents, where they saved and invested for 30 or 40 years, so they would have taught it to you, so your butt would have been rich right now? How many of you would like that? That's okay. Now, every once in a while, there's some people that are like, money's not everything. Yeah, I know oxygen is more important. But guys, it's second. And that's a controversial thing because people are like, no, money's not. Do you want to know? Look, here's what I know in my life. There have been times in my life where I had 0 money. And there are times in my life where I had enough money to do whatever it is I wanted to do. Do you want to know when I thought about money all the time? Do you think it was when I had enough to do anything that I wanted? Or do you think it was I was trying to figure out how I was going to get from point A to point B? How I was going to buy what I needed to buy? How I was going to feed what I was going to feed? You want to know when I got consumed with money? It was when I didn't have it. See, what we're talking about is an opportunity to take the money conversation out of the equation so our creativity and our opportunity for greatness is in front of us. See, we all would have loved our grandparents to do it, but grandma and grandpa didn't do it. But they did enough to get you and I in this room. And the reality is that what I talk about over the next 5 years actually works. It works because grandma and grandpa and mom and dad did what they needed to do to get you in this room. And for you to have the opportunity, the vision to see what we're about to go do. One way or another. One opportunity or another. And so that's what I get excited about. You see, the reality is the only way to get free in one generation is ownership. Let me make sure this is perfectly clear. I am not here to recruit you to Primerica solely and tell you that Primerica is the only way that you have an opportunity to get free. I'm not telling you that at all. What I'm telling you and what we're talking about is the only way to get free in America is through ownership. You and I have to figure out for you what's the right path of ownership. Maybe it's real estate. Maybe it's investing in Bitcoins. Maybe, right? It's all sorts of different things. And maybe, just maybe, it might be this opportunity. We're going to talk about that. But see, the reality is the first thing we got to do, Cindy, is go, how important is it that we get free? I don't know where that is. There are lots and lots of people who like the idea but don't want to think it's not worth it. This isn't about convincing someone to be an owner. This isn't about convincing someone to get free in the next 5 to 7 years. It's about saying, look, I think we have a responsibility to teach our children how to save and invest. I think we have a responsibility to lock in our advances, a responsibility to take control of our debts, a responsibility to save and invest and develop sound financial habits, and to enlist a supporter into our life that can help us in the moments where we have fights in our life between wants and needs. Because economically, when you have a conversation, the distinction between, how many of you have ever had a want that you convinced yourself was a need? And then you got it, and then you realize I didn't really need it. And then the need, and that's okay. We've all had that, right? And that's not a drama until what? Until the need shows up, and the resources that we had set aside for the need went to the want. Does that make sense? Sometimes it might be nice to have somebody to pick up the phone and go, hey, do you understand my financial goals and dreams? Do you understand what we're trying to get accomplished? I have this need-want thing. I'm not sure what it is. Hey, what do you think? Not as someone to tell you what to do, but sometimes we just got to say it out loud. And I said that yesterday. Alvita and I met a remarkable young man that's built a business, and he and his wife, or he and his mom worked in a bakery. And when he was little and went through, and he talked about this gentleman that owned a building that saw him for 10 years working. And he goes, man, this guy, he took me under his wing and he mentored me and he showed me how to do this. And he's describing the power of teaching, a lot of the principles that we got. And he's like, man, everybody needs someone like that, and almost no one I know has one. I go, there's the difference. And so he said, okay, how do you own? What's necessary for us? For that 70 million folks. Because it's easy to write ownership up here. It's PowerPoint. I can put any word up there. But what do we do? What do we actually take advantage of? See, to own an American business, we've got to harness what I call a Main Street entrepreneurial spirit. Look, there are some people that are great employees. I'm not judging. There's some people who want to show up late, go home early, and complain about it all day long. You guys all know those people. Have you ever met anybody who complains about the work they're supposed to do, the hours they're supposed to work, and the money they get paid? You know those people? Do they annoy you sometimes? They bother you at all? Frustrate you at all? Okay. This one's for free. It's not even part of the presentation, but you want to know what to say to them? You can look at them and go, I just have one question. Well, maybe three. Did they tell you what you were going to be doing? What are they going to say? Did they tell you what they're going to pay you? What are they going to say? Did they tell you the hours you had to work? Did you say yes to those three questions? Yes. Well, why are you complaining? What are we doing about it? See, what we're looking for is that entrepreneurial spirit, the one that says, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Man, maybe I don't have the degree. Maybe I don't come from the pretty background. Maybe I don't have all that education. Maybe everyone in my community never accomplished. Maybe. But there's something inside me that says, I don't want to feel like this, and I know I'm supposed to do something. But that spirit's great. There's lots of people all over the world that have that spirit. But if you don't have $500,000 of capital or a great idea, and you know how to code, that spirit doesn't mean much at your job. We said, man, if we really want to have access to ownership, we'd have to have a leverageable support system in place. Why? Because I don't have an MBA. I don't know how to do administration and marketing and trading. I don't have all that background. I don't have all that training. I don't have the capital to hire a PR firm and an organization firm and all that other stuff. Most of you. So again, we could have the greatest idea in the world. But we said, man, if we could have a support system in place, we could do something. And then we need a path. Because I started here, I was 22 years old with $24,000 credit card. The only thing I know about money is I didn't have it. I was making $1,000, $1,500 a month. I wasn't making a ton of money, but I was making enough to keep food on the table and the wolf away from the door. What I couldn't do is come to a meeting like this, get all fired up, and go quit my job the next day and do something I've never done before. Why would we want that? We said, you know what we want to do is we want to be able to teach and take it and be able to develop that entrepreneurial spirit. What if someone could keep the security of their job and learn how to build a business from scratch? Have somebody take the time and instruct them step by step all the way through. So the responsibility was to gain the assets of skills rather than just making enough money. So he said, if we really wanted to solve this problem for this group, we'd have to develop a solution for this. Well, why are you here today? In our opinion, we're the business incubator designed with the purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. That's what I do. I develop and train, and my wife and I, we work and develop the leaders in this room to identify and develop leaders. Teach them how to be entrepreneurs, how to develop, how to leverage support systems. That's our job. That's fun for me. I love taking somebody who's with those big eyes, this, I want to do something, and you feel like you're taking on the world every day on your own, figuring it out. The problem is in business, how do most of us figure out what not to do? It's okay. None of you have figured out what not to do, right? It's usually mistakes. You want to know why it it takes 5 years to make a single dollar profit. Why 80% of the small business owners don't succeed? It's not because they don't work hard. It's not because they're not passionate. It's not because they don't love what they're doing. It's not because they don't show up early and go home late. Traditionally, they run out of capital or energy by the time they figured out all the things that don't work. Well, we went, well, what if we could actually maneuver someone through that so they didn't have to pay that emotional capital or financial capital and they could get the same lessons? Couldn't we really do something significant then? Couldn't we attract great people that have the desire to do something and arm them with that? And so we said our number one mission is we wanted a space for everybody. The reason you're here today, one of our pillars is there's a place for everyone and a role for all of us. And so we said the first thing we've got to do is ask, do you see the value in people learning and knowing the information we talked about? Do you believe that if there was a way to teach this group of people what the Wealthy Think and Do, that could make a fundamental difference in their life? That's a pretty easy yes or no. You don't have to buy it, you don't have to join, but that's a pretty simple thing to say yeah or no. And if no, I'll be done in about 12 minutes. If yeah, then pay attention for the next 12 minutes, right? It's pretty much that simple, right? I'll tell a couple jokes and we'll kind of have some fun. But it really comes down to, does this make sense? We invite our clients to take a look at tonight. A lot of the people are like, hey, it's a lot of what we talked about. You're right. But we want you to hear it from another voice. We want you to meet a group of people that are passionate about making a change. So we said, look, I have a couple questions for you. Can you understand and support the mission we're on to close the economic gap? If there were, right, is that as simple? If there was a way to solve that problem, is that a good thing? I mean, that's a simple question, isn't it? And most people will say what? This isn't complicated. I mean, most people will say, yeah, okay, just want to make sure. Because you go, Brett, what's an ally? You talk about this allies, advocates, well, what's an ally? An ally is someone in our life that understands what we're trying to get accomplished and says, what you're doing is good. If we did that, we'd accomplish something. Check. You're an ally. If you wanted to or not. No. Question. If you knew great people that wanted to do something special, would you be opening to recommend them with opportunity of our growth? If you're sitting here and you're like, man, I know somebody that needs to do this, who wants to make extra money, who's stuck, who's struggling, who wants to be a part of something. If there was someone that said, man, they're stuck, they want to put their kids to college, they want to protect, there's something. If a name popped into your head, are we the type of people, and is this the type of environment that you would feel proud to say, there's someone you need to talk to, there's information you need to get. I don't know if what they're doing is what you should do, but man, you've got to have people like that in your life. That's a personal question. We invite people down. There's family members in the room, and this is important. We said, man, we want to hold ourselves up to an incredibly high standard. We want you proud of who we are and how we deliver this information, because we're talking about people's lives. If the answer is yes, does that sound pretty good? Yes. That's our advocates. So we said, man, if everybody in our life, Robin started the conversation by saying, everyone in her life knows that she's a startup lawyer. They assume because it's her, she's a good one. Right? So what happens is, you get into a conversation with someone who's starting a company, the first thing that happens is, oh my God, you got to talk to her. Why? Because if you believe that she's got value and support, and you believe in the person that you're talking to, connecting those two things add value to both people's lives. That doesn't seem like a bad way to live a life, does it? But I got a question for you. If you found something that was real, that was credible, in alignment with who you were, where you could make a real impact and help you accomplish your wants, if you could check every one of these off, would you be open? Because that's the position we call our associates. So we said, look, John, what we want to do is to create a place for everybody. Tonight is not about turning everyone into this or this. It's about saying, hey, here's our story, here's the impact. We recognize that there's a legitimate problem. 70 million families in this country are stuck. We know the solution, that they've got to give access to the financial education and the tools to fundamentally change the way they look at their money. And if they want a one-generation path, they need a path to ownership. So we said, man, that's an unbelievable thing, and we cannot do it alone. We got two choices. Put $100 million worth of commercials on TV. But the reality is, how many of us would like to save 15% or more on car insurance? How many of us actually call? Almost no one. Now, they're funny commercials, but they don't move us. Because if we don't think they're talking to us, we don't do anything about it. If it doesn't show up and talk about our kids, when we stand over the crib and we make those promises, and all of a sudden 12 years go by and we're like, oh my God, we don't actually have a college. Or someone in our family passes away and we're like, oh my God, they're going to work, we're doing a car wash. Or somebody's getting ready to retire or wants to retire and they're going to go back and work for 5 more years because they can't. Those are the moments that a conversation like this makes a difference. The problem is in those moments, we don't want to hear that on a TV. We want to hear it from somebody who's chewed the same dirt we've chewed, who's been to the same carne asadas, that's been to the same parties, that's bowled the same bowl, that's done what we've done. And to have a real conversation, not someone just to sell us. And we said, okay, so if we really wanted to grow, then we needed to find an opportunity where we could attract associates in a way where there was a space where everyone who felt, man, I have a calling, there's something here to fit. So we said, in order to do that, we said, okay, if we're going to do this, then we have a responsibility. We really want to attract associates. We have some dilemmas. One, most of us don't have an extra $25,000 or $50,000 laying around. True? So we can have the greatest plan in the history of the world. If you don't have 50 grand or 5 grand to get started, does the idea matter? It doesn't matter. So we said, you know what? For the cost of a license, and that's not even true, for the cost of a background check, we'll pick up the licenses because what we want to do is give everybody a shot to create a space for themselves. We needed to do it in a partnership form. Why? 2 reasons. One, to be completely candid, financial planning is not something I'm overly excited about. Building beta coefficients and standard deviations and asset allocations, right? Insurance profiles, y'all excited about that? You wake up in the morning, woo. No, but I love putting kids to bed. I love looking at a parent and saying, you know what, if something happens to you, your kids are going to get taken care of. If something doesn't happen to you, your kids are going to get taken care of. But we got really smart people in Atlanta and Georgia that love that financial services stuff, and we get to leverage that. They get to be the experts, and we get to be great at connecting. We got an unbelievable back office that can handle the administration and client support because there needs to be high-level professional support, but you and I might not have all the training for that, so why we develop it, it's there, so that we get to grow and develop. And then the last part, it has to be worth it. Look, it's a Wednesday night. You're all away from your family. We can have the greatest ideas in the world. But if we really want to make fundamental change, we economically have to make it work. So we said, okay, how's this work? We've got our allies, we've got our advocates, and we've got our associates. Well, we created a position we call our GAPs. It's our gathering asset partners. What's that? Well, did you guys all know that there's 10, think about this, this is crazy to me. There are 10,000 people turning 65 years old every day in this country, and they will be turning that for 19 years. Doesn't that sound like a lot of people? And this is the first generation that's ever had access to a 401k or an IRA. Ever. Their parents had pensions. So then when they retired, they got a check for $1,000. Not these folks. These folks in their 20s and 30s and 40s started saving in their 401ks and their IRAs, and now they've got 80 grand or 100 grand or 300 grand or 500 grand or $1 million. But they've been making $68,000 a year. Do the people making $68,000 a year talk to the financial advisors of the world? So do they have any idea how to communicate with them? No. So now they're 65 years old. They're getting ready to retire. They've got $837,000 sitting on a piece of paper, and they have no idea what to do with it or who to talk to. I have a question. Does the financial services industry have a great reputation of making sure that they fundamentally take care of people? Or do they exploit ignorance? So now let's say it's your aunt. And your aunt's worked for 47 years. And your aunt did what she was told to do. She saved and invested, and she's got $837,000 in her 401k, and she's getting ready to retire. And she has no one to talk to. What's the likelihood of your aunt getting the right advice? Probably not. We said, well, wait a second. What if we could develop managed accounts like Wade talked about, and we could have people who have no real interest in building a business, but they want to take care of their aunt? And they say, hey, there's someone I want you to meet, and they're really good at introducing, and they grow. $1 million of assets to one of our part-timers. We'll make about $4,300 a year. So $380 a month part-time, spare time. Now I know, look, you can't quit your job on $400 a month, right or wrong. But I got a question. If you helped your aunt make sure she was going to be able to retire, and you got paid $400 at the beginning of every month for that, you think that might make a life a little bit easier? Okay, you guys are all a little serious. So let me ask you a question. If you had $400 extra in your checking account right now, how many of you know exactly what you would do? Okay. And if it showed up next month again, would that be okay? And then the next month and the next month? You see, what we learned in the last 5 to 7 years is stability is a fundamental key to our ability to keep things calm. So we said, man, what if we could introduce that? But now watch this. And this is one of my favorite. We are going to have an army of people that start with us in their 50s. Why? Because $5 million of assets under management will pay $1,800 a month in passive income. Brett, why is that a big deal? The average person starts working at 22, 20 or 21. The average person starts their career right around your age. And they work from 22 to 47. And the average Social Security check is $1,239. And question, if someone starts with us at 55, and every year from 55 to 65, they found $500,000. And now at 65 years old, they had Social Security, but they also got an extra $1,800 a month every single month because of the lives they changed. You think it might make life a little bit easier? We said, man, we want a place for everybody. We're going to have some folks that are part-timers. They love their job. They love what they're doing. They're passionate. They're focused. They're ambitious. They want to teach or coach. They want to spend. There's all sorts of things that they want to do, but they're like, man, life, I just can't make enough money to do the things that I want to do. So now they start negotiating with themselves. I want to do this, but I got to do this because I got to make enough money. We're like, well, what if you could do what you're passionate about and make extra money and it not wreck your life? Are you telling me one night a month, one night a week, the ability to make an extra $500 to $1,000 part-time? That could make life a little. How many of us know someone that could use an extra $500 right now and they don't know what they're going to do with it? They don't know how they're going to. There are friends in our lives on their knees tonight praying. Not for $1 million. For life to be a little easier. We're going to have some that are part-time that want to go full-time. The opportunity to let your job provide the stability for you to learn how to build a business. To really be able to take advantage of the incubator system. To be able to learn how to build a business from scratch and not stress about the economics. And then there's some entrepreneurs. Rich said earlier, I don't know why I went third person right there, but I said earlier, to get financially free, you have to own. And here's the reason. There are 3 components to income that we need to be able to take advantage of. Our passive income, our revenue, and our profit. What's passive income? The ability to earn money on work we did before. At our job, we don't get passive income, do we? We get paid based on the work we do. Revenue, we all get at our jobs. We trade time for money. Whether you own a business or you work a job, you get paid for the work you did this month. The income you created and generated this month. Does that make sense? But an owner can control both of those and then profit. What profit is the ability to have a secondary location to leverage passive income revenue. When you train somebody at your job and they then can do what you do you make any money on those people doing it? No. That's a dilemma. Does the company make more money if there's someone else that can do what you do while you're there doing whatever it is you do? That's why they're able to. So we said, okay, if we're really going to do this, right, we're going to impact all levels. We said, okay, well, passive income, $15 million of income under management, of assets under management to a vice president will pay you $100,000 a year. If you have a team that has $30 million, pay another $100,000. Is that going to happen overnight? No, but I can tell anybody in this room, if we work together to be able to go do this, in today's economy, what's going on? If over the next 5 to 7 years, we build a business that pays you $200,000 a year in passive income, would that start to provide some opportunity? You build a business that helps 30 families a month. It's not 300,000 families, it's 30 families a month. There's 22 people in the room. You'll understand if half of us help 2 families a month, that's that number. We're not talking about outrageous numbers. Understand you do that, that's $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And then my favorite, because I love developing owners. You develop a regional vice president, you develop an independent entrepreneur, that them and their organization help 15 families. They build assets. It's $6,200 a month in profit. $70,000 a year, $72,000 a year. Now again, I'm not the greatest at math, but I figured this out. 172, that means 2 is 144, 210, 280, and $350,000. So I went, okay, if we work together over the next 5 to 7 years, we made 200 in passive income, 200 in revenue, and 350 in profit, that's $750,000 a year. That's changing hundreds of people's lives where no one else is coming. It's solving an economic problem that is vital in this country because it's only going to get harder. Life's only going to get more expensive. I've been doing this for a really long time. Here's what I know. 20 years ago, I talked to people about doing certain things, about saving, investing, and they looked at me and said, Fred, I'd love to do it. The idea is great. I just don't have enough money. They said that to me 15 years ago. Fred, I'd love to do this. I'd love to save and invest. I just don't have the money. And that's when gas was $1.30. That's when lunch was $5. The problem is, over the last 15 years, has their income grown? No, in fact, there's been a net loss of $4,200 a year in the last 15 years as an average, which means as a family, we're making $4,200 less today than we were 15 years ago on average. But gas went from $1.50 to $4. Lunch went from $5 to $9. So when we sit and talk to them and they're like, Brad, this sounds really good, I just don't have the money, guess what? 5 to 7 years from now, how many of you know gas is going to be $6? How many of you know lunch is going to be $11? Is your income going to grow? If it's not, what is the solution? And let's figure it out today, not then. You guys, our mission really was to create a place for everyone and a role for all of us. If you're here tonight and you're like, man, Sears, this sounds great. Man, I'm so excited that you guys are excited about this. Man, I will support you all the way through. Thank you. That means the world. If you say, man, if I stumble across someone today or tomorrow, 6 weeks or 6 months or 2 years from now that's got that entrepreneur spirit and wants to do something different, doggone it, I will introduce them because they got to know you. Fantastic. And if it's something inside you says, you know what, maybe, just maybe, I want to raise my hand and see if this thing works. Whether it's as a gap, as a player, and as somebody who wants to help us grow teams. There's a place for everybody. And there's a role for all of us. And that's something I'm incredibly excited and proud of. So real quick though, Robin, if you wouldn't mind coming up here for a second, we're going to do a little bit of recognition. I am so excited because I love celebrating our impact players. And so it's funny, we're like, we got to figure out, because we're just kind of rolling this stuff out, we got some things, we got to figure out recognition and all this sort of stuff. But one of the things that we do, and I love this, is, right, we got to go through the licensing process. So what we did is we said, look, we got to do the hours, we got to get this thing going. And so we celebrate when somebody finishes their hours and they get licensed. We go, man, we're going to give you a little mouse pad just to remind you that you're a part of a team, that you're not taking on the world alone. And we have 2 young ladies today I am so excited about. In fact, the crazy thing is both of their very first nights here. It's like the first time they've ever been here. They're both done. I'm so excited. This first young lady is actually the partner of Tony. You saw him. And just young and excited and fired up. And it's so funny is when I met with Tony and Wendy, right, at first, like Tony's like, he reminds me of little me, right? Just fired up, excited. Okay, what do I got to do? And Wendy's like, yeah, but how's it work? And Tony's like, it just works. And she's like, I'm glad it just works, but like, how's it work? And I'm like, oh, we're going to get along great. And I'm like, all right. And we were able to break it down. She's like, oh, that makes sense. Now, yeah, Tony, it works. And it's really fun to watch a partnership. It's really fun to watch a young couple lock arms and say, man, we got a shot to go do something, to be able to support and to be able to make this happen. So I'm incredibly glad. So please help me recognize her finishing her hours and quizzes and getting ready to take her test, the awesome Wendy. This next young lady, I love meeting people. It's one of my favorite things. Why I love this. I love telling our story. And this lady, I sat down, and it was funny. right? Because again, it's with Tony and his mom, and his mom's like, you gotta meet this lady. She's awesome. And I'm like, okay, right? And she walks in, and you ever just meet someone and they just light up the room. There's just this smile that's like, bam, and you're like, oh man. And she works with tax and changes lives and raises kids and does, and I'm like, oh, you gotta see this. She's like, but Brad, I'm so busy and I don't know. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And it's so funny when you watch somebody give it, to just watch this clip of what's possible in their life. If they took all of their ambitions and all of their drives and all of the things they've learned in their life, and most of us just sit there and say, if the right thing came, if I could take everything I am and I could put it in the right thing, I know magic can happen. And this lady is busy as all get out, all sorts of crazy. And her and Tony, they worked together, all of them kind of did, and finished her housing quizzes, wanted to get it done before she came and met all y'all. I am so proud of her. Help me recognize Grace. You're going to do this. Come here. So and we do, and we're going to do more and more recognition and having fun. I'm so proud of that because I know, guys, starting something and just finishing one step and then the next starts to change it. And together we can accomplish so much more. And the opportunity creates that. So I'm so excited for what this is. Right? And so we said, look, why are you here tonight? We got a big problem. And we can't do it alone. But I know we can do it. We got a passionate group of people in this room that's ready to grow. That's ready to give this story to the right people. If something tonight triggered you, two things. One, get together with the person that brought you. We've got training back here on Saturday. If you're open and interested, I have jeans and t-shirts, just kind of hang out from 9 to 11, and we just open our books. We say, hey, here's step 1 and here's step 2. My job, our job is to raise entrepreneurs and teach you that process. It's open door, and anybody's welcome, and we'd love to have you. We're going to be back here next Wednesday night. 7 days from right now. We've got great people making big choices and big decisions. We have the right problem to solve. We have the solution and the methodology in place. And we've got the young team in place to be able to make a difference. That person that you might have thought of in the middle of this tonight that says, man, they need to hear this. Let's get them back. Not for them to buy or join, not for them to do it. But to say, man, what if the people in my life understood they didn't have to do it alone? What if there was a space where we could do something? Whether it's as an ally or as an advocate, as our gap or our part-timer, as someone who says, man, I want out of my job, or maybe you're an entrepreneur. Maybe there's something that says, man, if I gave this 5 good years, I could change everything about my family trip. All of it's important. Because it's together that we have a shot to make the difference in what we can. So guys, again, I want to thank you so much for coming. All the speakers, thank you so much for giving the best that you've got. Congratulations to everybody. Let's have some fun. Love you guys. Thanks. Our music doesn't work, and it's trying to be great. Right now,